Hey Jason, hey, thank you for taking the time. So much, obviously, when I saw this opportunity to speak to you about Pack, I had to jump on it. Just get your thoughts or just what inspired you to not only get involved but serve as the co-chair of a Pack.
Yeah, I guess I was a part of the origin story of it. I got a chance to go down to Miami and play for the Dolphins my last year in 2021. And at that time, Caleb Thornhill was a player development guy there, and I formed a really good relationship with Caleb. And when I got there, Caleb had already been doing, I want to say it was since I think 2015, a Dolphins business combine. So in the off season, was over the span of about 3 or 4 days. He would have all the guys come stay in Fort Lauderdale or go back and forth. And he'd bring in all type of business people, real estate, and that's single family to multifamily to commercial real estate people. He had entrepreneurs, guys that were former teammates of mine, a guy like Stephen Tullock, who had owned coffee shops and does commercial real estate. He had guys like that coming back and speaking to us, venture capital people, CEOs, ones that were founders of their own business. And over the span of these few days, we would sit in a meeting room and we would learn from them. And then we would go out and we would actually see what it's like. There was a guy there, Chris Kennedy, who's in multifamily real estate. We'd go to a property. He would show us. We'd go to his offices. He'd break down how he'd do it. So it was all built on showing us as players. I was in my 13th year, and that was the unique thing for me. I'm in my 13th year, and I'm sitting next to Javon Holland, who just finished his rookie year, and both of us are here at this business combine, and we're both taking things from it, but at the respective points in our careers. For me, it was just like almost like, oh shit, like I've been planning for this, but like it's about to become a reality of figuring out what's next. For a rookie like Javon or Jalen Phillips, you're there and you're starting to plant seeds of figuring out, all right, I have some interest in real estate. Now I'm building a network and resources as I continue to possibly dive into it to have those type of people. So I go through this experience in 2021 and it was awesome. Fast forward, Caleb ends up leaving the Miami Dolphins and eventually end up joining the Spurs. But in that meantime, I remember talking to him and I said, hey, all 32 teams need something like this. I've done a lot of things throughout my career. And I was like, this is the most influential thing I've been a part of outside of your play on the field. And he ended up partnering with Chip and they came up with the idea of the pro athlete community. So from day one, I told him in any form or fashion that I can help, whether it's showing up to a combine, a next chapter U combine, and me speaking, whether it's co-chairing and being on the board and passing ideas and help influencing with different networks and relationships I have, I wanted to be a part of it because I saw how much it worked and the impact that it had on the players that took part in it.
Yeah, that. And I'm just curious, how was it in terms of just talking to other players and getting them on board? And I would say I don't know if the right word is recruitment in regards to Pack, but how was it just spreading the word around?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And I think the cool thing about it is when you're in locker rooms and you have guys that you've played with, everyone's brutally honest. And I will say when guys have gotten a chance to go out there and experience it, they've wanted to pass it on to other guys. And I think that's helped it a lot because everyone that goes, they have such a transformational experience that you want other guys to be a part of it. Guys that you may know that's struggling or guys that are thriving that you feel like it'll help them. This was probably maybe 2 months ago. This was before the combine that we were having. It was either in Miami or in Nashville. And we were on a call, and there was probably about 30 former players that were all on the call. And Devin and myself, we were on there and we spoke about our experiences with Pac. As soon as we finished the Zoom call, I had two teammates text me like, hey, can you jump on the phone? Got on the phone with one of them. The first thing he said to me was, all right, cut the BS. Is this real? Is this worth it? And I think when you can have those open and candid conversations, and he was a part of it, and he ended up going and he loved it. But I think that's been the cool part is that once guys take part in it and you can have those conversations about what it is, you can tell people like, no, I'm telling you, this is the real deal.
Definitely. And now it's spreading beyond just football. It's all sports. How was that process in trying to, not only, like I said, you're doing it within football players, but now you're going like basketball, you're going to obviously NBA,
Mhm.
NHL, etc. How was that process?
That's been a lot of fun. And Matt Joyce doing the baseball, Corey Higgins doing the basketball. And I know for myself, it's been really cool and unexpected. Like at one point, I'm sitting in the National Basketball Players Association, their Players Association, sitting in the offices talking to them about Pack and Wilson Chandler and Eddie Curry are there. And I'm like, damn, like I'm a fan of these guys. And as former players, as we sat around that table and we talked, we started to see the same things that they're going through when they walk away from the game, and some of the ups and some of the downs are the same things that we're going through as we're trying to figure out what the next passion is, and we're trying to build this curriculum at Pac. And seeing them do the combine in Las Vegas and having NBA players there and seeing guys talk about how insane it was for them and how much fun it was to have a locker room feel again, to kind of realize the potential that you have, and I think realize the accomplishments and the things that you've had to overcome to be the 1% of the 1%. Now you can apply that to something different. So I would say branching out has been the best part. I was in the last combine in Nashville, and there's Olympians that are there and they're talking about some of their struggles. My brothers had conversations with Candace Parker and talking about women when they walk away from the game is completely different because they don't get a chance to be in some of the rooms as some of the male athletes when you finish with some of the business people. So trying to bring all of that together and build an environment and a community where everybody can touch and see different people. And I think that's what this is all about. No matter whether you're basketball, baseball, hockey, football, whatever it is, when we walk away, we're all trying to accomplish something different now. And one of the combines in Miami, there was a guy there from the Atlanta area, and he said, we rose the question in the room, does anyone in their business have something that they're looking for that they haven't found? And a guy raised his hand and said, I need a contractor in the Atlanta area. And that question was now posed to the 150 people that were in the room, and 15 different people rose their hand and said, I have a phone number of a guy in that area that you can contact. And like that's the power of the community that we're trying to bring together.
That's obviously amazing, and the things. Well, I should say everything with Pac has been growing over the last couple of years. Are you surprised that there hasn't been a network like this in place before?
Yes and no. I think the one thing is it's hard to tap into and get into those conversations with professional athletes. And a lot of it has to do with when you go through that process of becoming a professional athlete, everybody tells you, like, be weary of anybody that's presenting anything to you. And I think this has been unique when I talk about the two co-founders and Chip Polsek and Caleb Thornhill. Caleb was in an NFL locker room for over a decade. So when he first decided to tap into it, the network that he had and the trust that he had with guys because he had been there and done it with them made it easier. And I think in all of these sports, whether it's basketball, baseball, or football, the NFL has programming. The NFLPA has programming for players when they walk away from the game. I think where PAC is different is it's its sole purpose to serve players in their transition while they're playing, building for it, and when they're walking away, stepping into it with faith and with courage and with knowing that you're going to be okay. I think for the other entities, when you're the NFLPA, if you're the NFL, if you're the NBA or the NBAPA, your main focus is current players. Like that's what it always has to be. I don't say that as a negative, but if I'm a part of the NFL, I'm trying to continue to grow the game to make sure it's where it needs to be 30 years from now. And the same with every other league. So I think that's Pac's superpower is that you now have the ability to make your sole focus on connecting these players and focusing on everything off of the football field. Nothing about Pac is X's and O's and telling you how to be a better cornerback. Now, as you continue to build off the field, is that going to probably help you on the field? Absolutely. But I think being able to make it a priority is why it's been different than anybody else trying to do it. And I think those personal relationships that were formed with Caleb for over a decade of being in a locker room, I think allowed him to be able to start with a strong group. And when you look at the board and you see Ndamukong Suh and you see Jermon Bushard and you see these different names, these are guys that a lot of players across the league trust because you've been in locker rooms and you've been a part of guys. Myself, Devin, Candace Parker. Like when you have people that are a part of this like that, it helps to spread the word faster.
Definitely. And obviously, you've been doing a lot after your playing career, after 13 years playing in the NFL. You're currently with NFL on CBS and with their coverage. So I know I just want to ask, obviously, some of your opinions of what's going on with the league and heading
Sure.
into this new season. Um, I do a lot of coverage with the Kansas City Chiefs, so a
Mhm.
lot of my stuff I'm going to be a little biased here, but I'm not going to stay there. Just just to say that. Just want to get your thoughts on a lot of talk around the Chiefs. Possibly the dynasty is at its end, and people are jumping off the bandwagon. What are your beliefs in regards to this team and kind of getting back on track, even though they were just in the Super Bowl last year?
It's amazing. Like that question you just said, like everybody feels the same. Like, are they going to get back on track? And that's the expectation that they've set with the greatness that they've achieved so far. And I look at it for them. I feel like the conversation of them being knocked off has less to do about Kansas City and their lack thereof, talent, scheme, whatever you want to place your blame on, of saying another team's going to take over. I think it has more to do when you look at their division. It has more to do with when you watch Bo Nix last year, you have no reason not to believe that he's going to be an even better player this year under Sean Payton in year two. When you watch what Vance Joseph did with Denver's defense, and then you add Talanoa Hufanga and you add Dre Greenlaw, you're like, well, they're going to be even better. When you look at the Chargers, what Jim Harbaugh did in year one, you're like, well, dang, look what he was able to do with Justin Herbert. Yes, they lost in the playoff games, but they got there in year one. So it's just like they're only getting better in year two. And then you add Pete Carroll to the division and you add Geno Smith. So I think it has less to do with, for me, when I talk about the fact of Kansas City is going to be challenged more this year, the division got a lot better. And you look at Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, haven't been able to get over the hump of beating him, but all of these teams continue to get better. And that's the life of being on top. Everybody's designing their team specifically to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. But Rasheed Rice will be back this year. Hollywood Brown is going to be healthy this year. You look at this, they're going to be a team that's going to continue to be a really good football team. My guy, Isaiah Pacheco, Rutgers grad, he's going to be healthier this year. So you have no reason not to believe that this Chiefs team is still going to be at the very top. And I always say it, you can't pick all these other teams until you beat the Chiefs.
It's definitely fair, and it actually is a great segue. You brought up Isaiah Pacheco. He has not been offered a contract extension going into the last year of his rookie deal. Are you a little surprised by that? I mean, yes, he had injuries last season, but during their two Super Bowl wins, he was a key factor.
I've heard so many coaches say this in the NFL. You get to a point where like there's nothing that surprises you. And I think the position he plays at running back, the way he plays the game, so violent, is one of those things where it's just like going into your last year, you would love to have that type of security. But for him, he's already an angry runner, to quote my guy Kyle Brandt, NFL Network. He should even be angrier this year, the fact that he doesn't have that contract. And it sucks. You want to have that security and go into the season, but it's what it is. And when you're on a team where you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes, some of the positions on the outside, you say, all right, we can fill a void and get guys. We can bring Kareem Hunt back and he can have success and figure out a way. We can draft an Isaiah Pacheco in the seventh round and plug him in there and he can become a superstar. So it's one of those things where no player wants to leave the team that drafts them, but it's that process that you have to go through, and you can be angry as heck this year in July and August when you don't have a contract and the season could end, and next thing you know in March you're offered a 4-year deal and you're happy as can be to remain in Kansas City. So it's just part of the process. You got to continue to go out there and just grind, and hopefully everything works out the way it's supposed to.
Definitely. And Jason, I've been meaning to ask you this well, if I ever got a chance to talk to you, I've always wanted to ask you this. The 2023 NFL draft was in Kansas City and you had one of the most memorable moments. You not only took shots at other teams, but in Kansas City, you bring up probably one of the most, sore moments for fans down there, the 2018 AFC Championship game. I just want to know, not only obviously you thought about this for a while, but your reaction, how you handled the reaction from the fans that night.
I want the people of Kansas City to know it is all love. I have no beef. It is purely entertainment. It was so funny. The Titans had called me and asked me to do the draft pick, and at the time I was on Good Morning Football, and Kyle Brandt had did the Buffalo Bills draft pick a year ago, and he had the chicken wing, he had the pants, and he had everything. It was an awesome announcement, and I remember going in. I was leaving that afternoon after I finished Good Morning Football, and Kyle says to me like, "So what are you gonna do for the announcement?" And I'm like, I don't say the name and get off the stage. And he's like, dude, like, no, you got to come up with something. The reason they're asking you is you got to be entertaining. So my 2.5, 3 hour ride on the plane, that's all I did was research like what I was gonna say, how I was gonna present it. And I remember being in the green room about to go out. And they've always said you've seen guys go out there and take too long, and it's just like, yo, the clock's ticking, get off the stage. And Roger Goodell says to me, take your time and have fun. And I was like, oh, bet. All right, we're good. So, you got to come up with some stingers, no matter who it is, to go at it. I said something about McAfee, I think, at that too. So my kids thought it was hilarious when they went on YouTube and people was like Jason McCourty trolls and all the young words that the young people say and all of that. So it was a lot of fun.
It was definitely unexpected. A lot of fun, but obviously Chiefs fans, they're gonna have to. I don't know if you're traveling there for a game, but
Yeah, they got the last laugh.
I do want to, obviously time is running out, but I do want to ask your thoughts on the Tennessee Titans and Cam Ward,
Mm.
number one pick. Is there going to be a lot of like pressure on him? I know the team is still rebuilding, but he's jumping there as a rookie, starting day one possibly.
It almost feels like he has the least amount of pressure for a number one overall pick in the history of the game. And I say that from a standpoint of Caleb Williams last year being the first overall pick. You turned on ESPN or any channel, all they were talking about was Caleb Williams. It was the fingernail painting. It was he going to be able, was he going to hold the ball too long? It was his poor attitude. Man, no one talks about Cam Ward in the Tennessee Titans. It seems like he's been the most underspoken about first overall pick ever. So I feel like, of course, as a first overall pick, as a starting quarterback, there's going to be a ton of pressure. But I almost feel like it's minimized to only Nashville. They're the only ones that care about Cam Ward. And I say that if I'm Brian Callahan, I'm like, this is awesome. Like, we don't need to be spoken about every single day in the meeting. We don't need anyone saying all of these different things about our quarterback. We're just going to put our head down and go to work. And I've loved everything that's come out of Tennessee revolving around Cam Ward. I've talked to people down there and they said he's everything you want as your starting quarterback. He talked about his dad waking up early in the morning to go to work, and that's why he's at the facility at 5 o'clock in the morning. He talked about the offense not being good enough and needing to improve. So he seems like he has the exact makeup of what you want that first overall pick to be. So I'm extremely excited to see what he's going to be. I'm going to be down there for the third preseason game. I don't expect him to be playing, but just a chance to be around the team and see what they've seen from him so far. So a lot of Titans fans are really excited for what Cam Ward's going to bring this year.
Definitely. And my last question, I have to bring this up as well. The Super Bowl you guys played in when you were with the Patriots against the Rams.
Mhm.
They talk about for so many years all the different titles Brady has won and the different battles. But I always feel like with this Super Bowl, the biggest play was your defensive play against Brandon Cooks in the end zone and stopping that touchdown. What do you remember most just about that moment? And do you feel like it's a moment that's discussed enough when they talk about Super Bowl history?
Man, I wouldn't mind them discussing it a little bit more. I'm never going to say no to that. But that game for me meant so much in my professional career, and obviously anyone's going to say that about a Super Bowl. But what was so unique about my journey is that was my 10th year in the league. It was the first time I had ever made the playoffs, and next thing you know, we're playing in a Super Bowl. But compound that with the fact that I have an identical twin brother who gets drafted the year after me, who goes to the Super Bowl his second year, who now, when we go to the Super Bowl in 2018, I have a twin brother who's now playing in his fifth Super Bowl, trying to win his third one. So it was my first time in the playoffs. It was my fifth time being at a Super Bowl. So 4 times I used to describe the feeling to somebody, because everyone would always ask, like, your brother's doing this. And I was like, going down to the Super Bowl 4 times and not being able to be a part of the festivities. It's like a kid at Christmas where you're not with your family, you don't have any gifts, and you're walking down the street and you see a family out underneath the tree and open all the presents and a smile, and you're just standing in the driveway and you're just watching it. And that's what it was like for me watching my brother. It was awesome to see the joy he got and all of that. So for me to fast forward and now be playing in that game, like it was nothing better to be there. So you talk about that play. I think it was my moment to prove of the last however many years of wanting to be here, of proving that like I've done the work and I'm coming up big for my team. But that play was so cool because that same play the Rams ran in the first quarter and Gilmore was chasing the post and I was backside and we're looking at it on the sideline and my brother's talking to Steve Belichick and he's like, hey, Jay's got to get there. I'm talking to Flores and I'm like, yeah, I got to be there. Dead finishes. He yells to me, you got to get here. I'm like, we already talked about. So all of that back and forth to fast forward to play coming back up in the third quarter, and we end up dropping the play and blow it on the front side. But being able to get back there in the moment, I wasn't thinking. It was kind of that Osh play where you're just hauling butt trying to get back there and was able to make the play. And it ended up being a huge one in that game because we only gave up 3 points. So a memory I'll always have. I'm up in Foxborough now, getting ready to call the Patriots game later tonight. Whenever I'm in this area, guarantee a fan's going to come up to me and bring that play up. So it's really cool when you become a has-been to be able to have those memories to fall back on.
Definitely far from a hazard. But Jason, so much, man, for your time. I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Good to talk to you, Ed.